We speak our words, we listen.
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 Good evening, everyone. This is Harry's Facebook for Sunday, the 4th of May, 2025. And this is where we share Facebook posts that's shared on the Autistic Radio's Facebook page and the discussions that come from that. So we start with the first post, and it's from Embrace Autism, who are a mental health service, science website and diagnostic centre. And they do research-based information and empowerment by autistics for autistics. Embrace your advantages. And what they've shared is about autistics work hard. And what they're saying is autistics tend to prefer doing work and pursuing interests over socialising, and are prone to do work for lesser rewards. This has both benefits and consequences. And the link that goes to is a research that was published on the 2nd of November 2018, and it was updated on July 13th, 2024. And it's called Autistics Work Hard. And I'll just share the introduction. And it says that clinical observations indicate that autistics may have reduced motivation to seek social interaction, yet a heightened motivation to expend effort in the pursuit of certain non-social stimuli. In other words, we tend to prefer doing work or pursuing interests over socialising. But also, we expend effort on our pursuits for lesser rewards, which is a double-edged sword. We are more likely to pursue interests despite fewer rewards, but because of this, we make ourselves vulnerable to be taken advantage of. What's people's thoughts on that?
Well, I have an immediate thought on that, and that is about being taken advantage of. I have recently been offered various opportunities to talk on behalf of Autistic Radio and on behalf of Autistic Association. And because I can pick and choose, I always respond asking whatever organisation to make a donation to the charity. If they want to use my professional time, which I could use to work in my business and earn money, and they want me to speak with them or present at a conference, I'm happy to do it for free as long as they are paying something towards the charity. Recently, we were offered quite a small amount by one of these organisations, and I responded that it would be lovely to take part, but as far as I knew, there were two versions of being invited. You either were invited and then given pocket money, or you were invited and paid a professional fee. And I said I would be happy to do it if a professional fee was paid into the charity. And because I said that, they increased the amount by 5 times, and they're going to make that donation to the charity and also pay my costs. So I'm not out of pocket except for the time that I miss from working. So the double-edged sword here is whether we turn round and say, this is what we expect in a polite and sensible way, framing it in a way that makes sense to them. That's what I would encourage. I also have made the same gambit and never heard from them again. And those organisations, they're just not valuing me. And if they're not willing to pay a small amount to the charity, I don't believe that they are valuing the input. Saying that they do value our input, but not putting a money figure on it is not good enough.
Here, Jules. I feel like it's what you're talking about with these professional boundaries. It's really live in my life just now, personally as well. And this post brings up quite a lot for me. I really relate to the not finding socialising as intrinsically rewarding. I just don't. And I've always preferred being engaged in hobbies or studying or working over socialising. But in life, I've learned that if I isolate too much, it's pretty dangerous and also has bad effects on my mental health. So I schedule in the socialising and contact with people because I know it's good for me. But yeah, I remember being at uni and being much happier going to the library on a Friday night than going out at all. And it would have helped if I'd been able to drink, because when I was about 18, I was a drank and socialised, and it kind of seemed to kind of work. But my body doesn't tolerate alcohol well, so I ended up having to be a bit of a hermit for a long time, which is probably like a good thing.
What it reminds me of is my own enthusiasm to get on with things, especially if it's something it's in, that I'm really interested in. Like a lot of the kind of voluntary stuff I'm in, the committees, the associations, and I sometimes, or maybe most of the time actually, do the work of 2 or 3 people because I want to get it done. And it's not because I'm actually stepping on somebody's toes to do that. It's actually either supporting someone or there isn't someone in that position to it. It's voluntary anyway. And I get plenty of plaudits, plenty of compliments, but it just feels good doing so. But what you need as well is you need to feel appreciated and you feel that you've done something worthwhile. So, yes, digressing a little, but that's what it responds to me. And I think that's what actually puts me off actually getting employment. Because if it turns into a job, the enthusiasm might wane, because when you've got a job, you're getting paid to do a certain type of task. I don't know if I could actually do that because my mind wants to do a lot more than actually just a simple task, if you know what I'm talking about.
There's a comment from Kathy Roberts saying, absolutely, I'm becoming more and more of a hermit because of the trauma around me.
Just before we started the broadcast, I was speaking to Jules, and I was speaking about how I was socialising this weekend. I was socialising on Friday. I was actually in Glasgow in a noisy coffee shop, busy as it would be, and in a bar as well. And I enjoyed it. But then I enjoyed it a lot more when I was home, and because I live alone, so it's like, I've kind of talked about it before, it's just this sort of kind of respite. And I wasn't planning to do anything the next day. And if I wasn't going to be speaking to anybody at a considerable amount of time, so it's kind of resting. And in doing that, it gives me the opportunity to do some of the work that I do, and I do it at my own pace, but I get it done. I can enjoy doing that. All I was talking about is, see, this kind of hermit thing that you may feel sometimes it's too much and you're not getting out at all. I mean, that can happen. That can be the other side of it. But it's just talking about the kind of positive side of being in the house and not going out for a day or two.
In that conversation we had before we came on air, I was saying that for a couple of weeks I've been alone here. My wife and my daughter have been away in Italy doing their own thing, and it was a lovely thing. It was a lovely thing that the only 2 people I spoke to was an employee for a very short time and the vegetable man in the shop opposite for a very short time. And the rest of it was all just taking part in podcasts. But it does worry me whenever we come across people who say that they're becoming more and more of a hermit or more and more isolated, that it can go too far, because I know for me, I need my own solitude, but I also come across people who have let that go so far that they can't come back to socialise, and it worries me often.
There's a comment coming from Facebook from GR saying, when I look back, the jobs I enjoyed and thrived in were those where I was left alone or worked alone.
I worked out once, I did 30 different jobs for 46 different companies in the 30 years I worked.
What kind of work did you do?
Well, I always say the only jobs I haven't done is Doctor Who and the Pope. And so fingers crossed for the Pope. I've literally done everything from cleaning jobs up to I was the technical and marketing product manager for Digital Road Networks Ordnance Survey.
There's another story in here, GR, though, isn't there? Because if you had to work in all of these different jobs, something was meaning it wasn't possible for you to find your own niche in there to stay long enough. You're demonstrating an incredible amount of enthusiasm, skills, adaptation, because you're getting these jobs, you're being able to do them, but something is not allowing you to stick there. So potentially that means that the organisations you're working with are not valuing well enough. Or am I reading too much into it?
I did 4 years in a builder's merchant's yard, and then I did 8 years as a labourer, and they were my 2 longest jobs. And I was at Ordnance Survey 9 years. And there's a lot of, after Ordnance Survey, where I was bullied out, my confidence was gone. And I just went from job to job, and sometimes I'd be dismissed after a short period of time, or I would just walk away after even just a day or a couple of weeks. That's just the way it was.
This must have happened to a lot of people, actually. A lot of autistic people who are really good or could be really good at a job is forced out because of the culture you're up against, or because in the society we live in, there's a sort of kind of normal average person that you're measured against. So if you behave in a certain way that's too far away from this measurement, you're looked upon as odd, insubordinate, whatever. And people are kind of, it's like these people don't want you around unless they want to use you, which happens to a lot of vulnerable people as well.
Kathy in the comments is saying I was late diagnosed, so it makes sense why I felt out of place in those roles. I work much better on my own. The culture was awful.
I haven't had many jobs, but I relate to you, Kathy. The only way I managed to make any kind of inroads into the world of work was the very difficult route of being self-employed. I was not self-employed by choice because I wanted to be a multimillionaire or one of these other aspirations that the conventional society have. I just couldn't work within the structure that was offered by the working environment. So what the actual world of work misses out from is our talent because of the way they structure.
Kathy in the comments says, same here. Self-employed because I'm unemployable here due to my disabilities.
Self-employment can be quite simple. You don't necessarily need a shop or a shop front even. You can work from home. It can all be minimal. But at the end of the day, you're having to do it all, which is a great pressure as well. And there will always be external forces and influences that want to pick at what you're doing and try and judge it. If you're wily, you can figure your way through that maze. But it is very much a regular option, I think, for people who think like us. Because I'm trying to find a common thread here. It's like, do people actually like work? Do they want to work? Is it forced upon them? You have to do it to survive. Are there alternatives? All those questions, these fundamental aspects of life.
There's a phrase which goes with self-employment, and it's usually on bank adverts when they're encouraging people to be self-employed, and it's being your own boss. And it's bollocks. For those people in the United States, it's crap, shit. And the reason it's crap and shit and bollocks is because you are never your own boss. I'm self-employed at the moment, and every single one of my customers believes that they are my boss. So everything that you have to do with a single boss, you have to do with those customers. The only difference is that every now and again, I tell one of those customers to go and stick it, and I've still got the other 99% of my customers left. But if I do that in the normal way of things, I'm cutting off the only income I have. So being self-employed can be spreading your risk against which neurotypical person doesn't like the way that you deal with them.
Got some more comments coming in from Facebook. GR says, another thing with a big company is reorganisation. Ordnance Survey did this every 18 months and we had to reapply for our jobs. I stopped doing that. No one applied for my job, so it stayed the same. And then Kathy says, I do want to work. I love what I do. It is the systems that create the barriers for me, like numbers. I am pretty good with technology, but trying to navigate government websites breaks me. I get locked out all the time and you can't even get a phone number anymore. Nobody will help you.
The next post is from Autistic Jazzy, which is a personal blog. Hi, I am Jazzy. I have level 2 autism and severe ADHD and mental health. I am really happy most of the time, but not always. And what they shared is a quote which says, autism don't end at 21.
I was diagnosed at 53 and I've not really had much support. And I think it's because if you manage to make 53 years without any support that you're going to be okay.
Yeah, it seems to be that kind of attitude out there. Although it's not just that, it's just lack of services for anything, and that's just one of the ones that they never got round to. Because what we've discussed, and what's been shared many times from us and on Facebook, is a lot of autistic services, autistic support, a lot of discussion is around children and how vulnerable children are and how the support needs to be there for children, particularly not just school, but that's a big factor, but in the home, in society. But when you get to a certain age, sometimes 18, sometimes 21, sometimes a lot older than that, as you've just said, GR, it's like you're an adult and there never seems to be anything available. Sometimes not even a simple support mechanism is information, somewhere to guide you. And that's such a problem. Because a lot of people will be identified, diagnosed because of the way it comes about. I mean, there's people that I'm aware of that find out they're autistic because they have children and one of their children or all their children are autistic and they kind of research to see where it came from. So, yeah, so I totally get that quote and what it means. Very simplistic, but very true.
I have a slightly different take here because here at Autistic Radio, we come across a lot of people who are late diagnosed, like myself. And the reason that they are late diagnosed or late identified is because they've come to a point in life where they're not okay. And the identification is something that leads them to a better place where they become okay. So I would be concerned if we send out a message saying that struggling to the end of your life without coming to terms with the knowledge of your own autism is the best situation, and because you've managed so far, you can cope. I would say the reality is that for many of us, finding out our diagnosis late in life or our identity late in life is necessary and a release. And also, I would say self-identity, finding your own kin, finding autistic people to get alongside, that is perfectly good. Diagnosis is not necessary. The medics try to say that it has to be a diagnosis. Well, no, you're in control of your own life, and understanding your own self comes from you. So self-diagnosis is accepted in all good autistic spaces.
There's some comments there. Kathy says, our major websites are not even compliant for accessibility. And then someone said, I think if we have a critique of the system, then that is our job. And Kathy says, 100%, especially with the financial barriers, it is thousands of dollars here.
The next post is from Helen, Autistic Realms. And what they've shared is, for too long, autism has been explained from the outside. It's time to tell our own stories and embrace monotropism. Explore our map of monotropic experiences, free open source training and collaborations with STEMpunks. And there's a link to a newsletter and there's a link to the training. And what the training says, map of monotropic experiences, reframing autism through a neurodiversity affirming lens. And it's created by Helen Edgar at Autistic Realms and Ryan Boren, Nora Hobbs and Chelsea Adams of STEMpunks. Free training for professionals, families and community groups to support autistic people. And in looking into the introduction of this, it says that at Autistic Realms and STEMpunks, we believe in telling our own stories and validating each other's experiences. The map of monotropic experiences is a collaborative project by Helen Edgar, Autistic Realms and STEMpunks Foundation, Ryan Boren, Nora Hobbs and Chelsea Adams, created by and for autistic people. I created the original map in 2024 as a reflection of my own monotropic experiences. This was inspired by Gemma Correll's A Map of Procrastination. We have developed this further and are offering a space for everyone to reflect on their authentic identity as autistic and ADHD people and discover how embracing the theory of monotropism may help develop a stronger understanding of identity and support well-being.
I was reading about it the other night. Is this an extension of the previous discussion about self-employment to a certain extent? You know, there's people in the community who are becoming employed as training resources Because I read further into it, there are fees, although most of it is free, I think, to begin with. And I kind of like these people. There's a lot of things I've been consuming since I got my diagnosis, and these people were part of it. But, it's very fluid.
It says it reframing in deficient models of autism and valuing autistic lived experience. It says our training helps to reframe how we understand ourselves and autistic people, not through the deficit-focused lens of traditional autism research, but through lived experience and autistic voices. Our open source training offers a radical, affirming reframe of autism, grounded in the theory of monotropism, a way of understanding the deep, focused attention patterns common amongst autistic and ADHD individuals. Rather than seeing autistic traits as deficits, monotropism recognises our motoric interest-based nervous system as a natural and meaningful way of engaging with the world. At the heart of our work is the importance of embracing authentic autistic identity, not as something broken or needing correction, but as a valuable and vibrant way of being. Building strong community connections and validating lived experiences are central part to this journey. You'll learn to understand the theory of monotropism and the importance of flow, recognise how environments can create stuck states, explore the detrimental impact of neuronormative domination on autistic well-being, create flow-supportive environments where all minds can thrive, understand intersectionality and the double empathy problem for deeper inclusion, and celebrate authentic autistic identity and the strength of community storytelling and shared experiences. They say it's perfect for schools, healthcare settings, workplaces and community networks, and a creative tool for reflection, connection and meaningful change. The training content is approximately 4,000 words, designed to cover around 45 minutes of presentation time, delivered live as a workshop with space for discussion and question and answers. It typically runs for 1 to 2 hours and can be expanded into a full day session if preferred.
I have a lot of positives to say. I am quite happy for autistic people to be the professionals out there who are getting paid to present about autism. I am very happy that they describe it as a explanation from us rather than for us and on our behalf. So coming directly from autistic people. The only caveat I have is I don't understand monotropism and I'm not willing to pay for somebody to explain it to me. What I would be interested in is somebody to bring some kind of knowledge of monotropism here to Autistic Radio, discuss it with us, make a podcast with us, so that it then encourages their business. So far, the people who have explained monotropism to me, or the explanations I've seen, they look very much like ABA-based, medical model-based slurs on the autistic identity. They don't feel life-affirming for me, but I want to be educated. So if somebody is willing to come and explain it to Autistic Radio and encourage the world to see how it works through their eyes, I'm really happy to facilitate that.
I'm certainly always up for stuff that's more positive-minded and more inclusive-minded than it's been done before, because although the sharing negative experiences is important, it's always also important to be authentic and as positive as possible as well. Give people hope, especially if they're going through a hard time. They don't want people to feel that all these stories, all these kind of really tough experiences people are sharing, that's all they've got to look forward to. It's like to encourage people to like themselves, because there's a lot of people that are autistic that have been made to feel inferior, and that's a hard thing to shake off when someone else has been doing that for a long time to you, especially if it's authority figures, and sometimes, unfortunately, it can be family.
There's a comment coming from Kathy saying Dr. Wen Lawson has a load of free resources. I get to work with him every now and then.
Well, Kathy, I'm confused about monotropism. Some of the people who've described it to me, it looks a bit culty. It looks a bit like somebody is forcing a metaphor on the rest of the community. And I need somebody to come and speak to me and explain it in a way that I can understand and get behind it. at the moment, it looks very negative to me. So I need somebody to come forward. And if you can encourage, that would be brilliant.
The next post is from Artists and Autism and Friends, which is an arts and humanities website sharing of art and encouraging the artists who are on the autism spectrum and others who are differently abled. And what they've shared is a picture of dandelions. And what it says is the dandelions have gone to seed really early this year, as Rose Morrison has illustrated so beautifully with alcohol links. Rose was also recently featured in a news article linked in the comments, and it wasn't in the comments because I shared it, but it's an article just talking about an exhibition in the United States, and it's an artist with vision loss. But the reason I shared it is because Artists and Autism and Friends, and I'm aware that many people, or a lot of autistic people, if not all, have a special interest, and it's usually something like, it can be music, it can be writing, it can be art, and we share a lot of these types of pages and groups on the page just to demonstrate that. Especially very talented people, and it's nice pictures is being shown on the page.
I think this is brilliant, Harry. Thanks for the link. I've just been reading the thing in the comments about the vision loss techniques used by this artist. So that idea of being able to still do things you want to do that you like doing, even if your senses are beginning to fade, would normally make you think you couldn't do it anymore, but there are ways, and it's very intriguing, and I need to get some depth of thought.
I just wanted to comment on the mention of like these alcohol pens. My daughter got some and they're absolutely lovely to work with. Like if you're colouring in with them and you go over the same spot, the colour doesn't get any denser, so you get a really lovely flat wash. They're really satisfying and they blend really well. And I saw some in Aldi for very cheap compared to what I'd seen them online.
The next post is from SendStation, which is a product and service, and sometimes learning is simply better online. SendStation, SEND, is a great destination. And what they're promoting is a session called Transform Early Communication Through Music and Autism Expertise. And what it says, do you work with or care for a child who is non-verbal or developing early communication skills? This interactive training session will show you how musical communication can open doors to impactful learning and connection. What you'll gain is insights into autism profiles and early communication challenges, practical strategies using musical communication to enhance engagement, and real-world techniques to apply immediately at school and home. It's led by Nicola Durant, autism specialist teacher and consultant. This session combines expertise, actionable advice, and innovative approaches to help children thrive. So what's included is a summary handout with key strategies, a certificate of attendance to mark your learning milestone, all for just £12.95 per delegate, plus booking fee and VAT. And the spaces are filling fast, so don't miss out. And you can reserve a spot through Eventbrite, which has the link below. What's people's thought? Have they ever heard of this before?
Not specifically in this context, Harry, but music therapy is pretty much a mainstay, isn't it?
It does look like quite a good thing, depending how it's done. Because music is a big thing. Music is a great way of including people, but it just depends how they do it and how they talk about it, I suppose. It's something completely new to me.
If you look at the actual booking page, it's aimed at some kids that are non-verbal and the parents are not getting a good sense of communication. It's a tool, music. I'm guessing that the experience is going to be a positive experience. And with the people it's aimed at, I think we can forget all of the tropes about whether the kids are being included and things like that. You know, it's a basic thing that young children benefit from rhythm and the experience of being in a group. And if we get some encouragement for any of the people listed, useful, it says, for parents, teachers and learning support assistants to be playful and musical with their kids rather than this carrot and stick ABA sit down for hours and hours and learn these separate things, it looks like a positive experience to me.
Well, thanks everyone for the discussion tonight. It was really enjoyable again. So this is Harry's Facebook for Sunday the 4th of May 2025, which is part of the 5:55 Spectral Voices conversation, which is here every Sunday, UK time. So thank you once again, and now pass you over to Jules.
That's great, Harry. As always, thank you from everybody here for putting the work you do into sharing these posts, finding these posts, and creating that Autistic Radio.com Facebook page, which is part of social media, but a safe space to go to. I don't look at anywhere else except your Facebook page. At this point in the show, we talk a little bit about Autistic Association, which supports Autistic Radio and the activities of Autistic Radio. We're presenting at an upcoming conference for the professionals who are trying to reduce the amount of restraint that's used on autistic people and people with learning disabilities and other people who are under the care of professionals in institutions. So we will be presenting the Autistic Radio model there in a couple of weeks. It has an association with ABA as well. So we're hoping that if we keep a dialogue going with ABA practitioners here in the UK, it's possible that it will have a small amount of influence on them. We also have podcasts that we develop. Very soon, we have a podcast which is an introduction to GR Robertson, who, when you hear it, you will be quite amazed at the autistic person who found out about themselves later in life, and their background in music, working with the Rolling Stones and other different artists. I have a podcast coming up to record with a lady who commented on our social media asking why the autistic community does not seem to be standing up for the Jewish community and showing some disappointment in the autistic community. I found that confusing, so I'm hoping to have a good conversation with her and put that out as a podcast. And also in edit at the moment, we have a podcast with the two professionals who discussed the difference between ABA and floor time. So an alternative to ABA, two parents, two educationalists, two doctors speaking together through Autistic Radio. I found that conversation very enlightening. So I hope when the podcast gets out there, you'll find that enlightening too. So thank you to Autistic Association, the charity created by autistic people to support Autistic Radio. And thank you to everybody else out there who is either listening to us or willing to take part with us. If you're somebody who's willing to take part, get in contact. There's always space for you. Autistic Radio is about us, it's for us, and it's from us. Autistic Radio is about you, it's for you, and it can be from you. We have every single Sunday drop-in, 4:44 PM every Sunday. That's not live, that's us getting together, us talking, community. Every Sunday, Harry leads a 5:55 PM, a discussion around the Facebook page that he creates. Involve yourself by suggesting what we should talk about next. Share it with Harry. And then the bigger picture. Advocate. Use us. Speak to the world. Your project, your idea, your enthusiasm. We have a whole range of different programs that will fit what you want. As far as listening goes, there's some challenging stuff out there, because amongst the identity, the entertainment, and the community, we also make serious programs with autism professionals, challenging their ideas and bringing what you say in other spaces to them. A lot of those are difficult listens, but it's a holistic gathering. It comes all together. Autistic Radio is very varied. We need a favour. To encourage us, we need you to share us. When you share us, you give autistic people power. When you share us, you make us impossible to ignore. When you repost on LinkedIn and Facebook and anywhere else, you're advocating for everybody in the autistic community. So pick the things that you're happy with and get them out there. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you from all of us.